I'm Mungo Darkmatter, and welcome to Dark Matters. Today on Dark Matters, we're going to discuss how to improve the way your YouTube videos look and the way they sound. This is going to be kind of a basic overview video that will show you some basic things to look at and improve in your videos. But later on, I'm going to do videos on specific areas that I'm going to go into in this video in general. There are basically three different components of video production that you need to be aware of and to look at as far as the quality of your videos go. The first is the video equipment, the second is the sound equipment, and the third is the lighting. Now, video equipment can be anything from a webcam to a camcorder. Sound equipment can be anything from the internal mic in a webcam or camcorder to using an external mic or to using a separate sound recording system and then syncing the audio with the video when you do the editing of the video. Lighting can be natural or artificial or a combination of the two, and you can supplement lighting with your own artificial lighting or reflectors. I'll start off with what I'm using to film this video right now. First off, I'm using two photo soft boxes, one on either side of me, and they have 100 watt compact fluorescent daylight bulbs in them. A 100 watt compact fluorescent bulb is equivalent to about a 400 watt incandescent. So with the two lights, I have about 800 watts of light coming at me, which would be about 8 100 watt incandescent bulbs. So there's a good amount of light here. They're soft boxes, so they're diffused, and they're at 45-degree angles on either side of me, so the lighting is very even here. There are other types of lighting setups you can do for various effects, which we'll get into in another video. But right now, what we're just trying to do is get a basic setup where the lighting is good and the video and the audio sound better. The camera is a Logitech C615 webcam, which is a high definition webcam, and will go up to 1080p. This video is going to be edited and posted in 720p, which is also high definition, and we'll talk about the differences of that in another video. Finally, I'm recording using a blue snowball mic, which is an external USB mic, and it's sitting right here next to me, so it's kind of close. It's a higher quality mic than is generally in a webcam or a camcorder. Alright, so that's the basic setup that I have done. Now, a lot of people will start off and they'll get a web camera and they'll shoot with whatever lighting they have in the room, and they'll use the mic on the webcam. So we're going to switch down to that and see what difference it makes between the setup we're using right now and just using the webcam with whatever lights in the room. And then I'll start to change some stuff so you can see how it improves the video and how different things affect the quality of the video. So the next thing will be, we're going to switch to just the webcam. So I'm going to turn the lights off here. I'm going to knock out the microphone and just go basic low-level stuff. Alright, I've turned out the photo lights. It's night right now, and there are no other lights on except the light from the monitor. Now, you might notice that I look a little bluish, and that's because the background on my wallpaper is a bluish color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the background to a solid color, and I'm going to make that color white so that it's very neutral and very bright. And you'll see by when I do that, there's actually more light coming at me now, and it's white light, so there's not a blue tint to me. Now if I go back in again and I change my background to, say, a solid red, you'll see it makes my face very red. Now the reason I'm doing this demonstration is to show you that if you're sitting in front of a monitor with a web camera, the color of your background can actually affect the way you look on camera. Now if you had extra lighting on, that's also going to affect the way you look, but you need to be aware that the light from your screen can actually cast a tint to you depending on what lighting you're using. So you may actually want to change your background to a white or a neutral color if you're having problems with it reflecting on you. Now I'm going to turn on a light in the room, and we'll see what happens next. Alright, now we have like a background light on. It hasn't helped a whole lot, and we're still being lit primarily by the monitor. And I have the monitor set to white light now. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on a desk lamp to see if I can get a little more light on me. Alright, now I have the desk lamp on, and so there's a little more light in here. If it were daylight, there would be even more light in here, so the quality would change again in the daylight. What I'm going to do now is I am going to change the color again of my desktop. Alright, so I'm a little more blue looking now because I have a bluer background on my desktop. So you can see how that affects the color cast on my face. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off this blue snowball mic. Alright, I've turned off the blue snowball microphone, so you should hear a difference in sound right now. First of all, the mic is a little bit farther away from me. It's the internal mic on the webcam. It's not going to be quite as good a quality as an external mic, and it is a distance away from me, which both will affect the sound. As for the lighting in here, I have a desk light on, I have a floor lamp in the background on, and I have the light from the monitor screen hitting my face, and there's a blue desktop background on the screen, so it's casting a little bit of blue light my way. So first of all, we're going to see some things we can do to improve this just a little bit. First of all, I'm going to go back down and I'm going to change the desktop background by right-clicking on the desktop and going to Personalize. I'm going to change the background to white. So that at least improves the lighting a little bit. Now, with Logitech's webcam software, there are two features on here. There's one that's called Right Light and one that's called Right Sound, and they are supposed to improve what the lighting and this looks like and the sound sounds like with the webcam. So I'm going to click on right light, and it's brightened up the picture a little bit to try to improve the way it looks, so it's not so dark. You can do some of these settings manually as well, and I guess other webcam software may have a similar thing to the right light feature on the Logitech webcam, but I'm not absolutely sure about every piece of webcam software. So okay, now there's also something called right sound on the Logitech webcam software. So I'm going to click that on too and see if that improves the sound a little bit. And so now we're running right sound and right light. Other webcam software may have similar things where they'll kind of automatically try to fix the sound or the light. So you can experiment with those. That's one thing you can do to try to improve the way a video comes out or the quality of it. You're pretty much always better off if you can get more light in the scene. So bear that in mind. Alright, I'm going to go through the same exercise, but it's a different time of day now. It's early in the morning, and so there's some light coming in through the windows. It's kind of indirect light, so there's no sun coming directly into any of the windows. There are two windows in the room, so there's light coming from this side, and then there's light also coming from this side that's natural. In fact, what I will do here is I will turn off the monitor for a second to show you what it's like without any light at all. Alright, so now the monitor's off, and so you can see how that looks. I'm going to turn the monitor back on again. So you can see the monitor is actually acting as a fill light in this situation. Now, I look a little bit bluish because the background is a bit bluish. So let's go down here, and I'm going to personalize the desktop, and I'm going to change the desktop background. Make it solid white. Alright, now that looks a little bit better. Let's see, if I turn on right light now, I'm going to try to brighten things a little bit. I'm going to turn right light off again. Now I'm going to turn on the background light, and we'll see what it looks like. Okay, so I turned on a floor lamp back over here, and you can see the light coming on the background right back here is a little more yellow than it is over here. This looks a little bluer, this looks a little more yellow, and that's because the color temperature of the compact fluorescent bulb in the floor lamp back there is 2700 degrees Kelvin, which is yellowish in that, and that's kind of designed so that it looks like an incandescent bulb that has a yellow light. So that's something to be aware of, the color of the light that you have, and we'll talk about that more in another video. Alright, now I'm going to turn on this desk lamp over here. Alright, I turned on a desk lamp over here, which is a daylight fluorescent bulb, and as you can see there's a little more light on me here. So the picture looks a little bit better. I'm going to click on right light over here. There's with right light, there's without it. And you can see how it changes it. Now, right light doesn't always work perfectly. When there was less light in here, it seemed to wash me out a little bit more than it is right now. And depending on your the amount of light you have in there, you have to judge for yourself which you like better when you're messing with your video. And in fact, like right now, I'm kind of viewing it as I'm doing it. The best way to decide is when you play back the video, do some test shots, play back the video, and look what the final video looks like, because it's harder to tell when you're shooting it through the application. Alright, now I'm going to try one more thing, I think. Alright, as you can see, the light is very even and diffused here. You're probably wondering what I did. Well, I got a reflector clamp lamp that you can buy at any hardware store. And I took a daylight compact fluorescent bulb and put it in it. Now, instead of pointing it directly at me, I pointed up towards the ceiling and the wall in front of me. Both the ceiling and the wall in front of me are white, so this works really well. If you had the wall or the ceiling painted some color, it would reflect that color back on you. So what you would need to do is get a piece of poster board or foam core board to use as a reflector. Foam core board is an excellent reflector because the center of it's foam and it's about 1/4 of an inch thick, and so it's like a board, and so you can tilt it and adjust it any way you want without having a support on it. Whereas poster board you could use, but you would have to tape it to the wall and the ceiling, or connect it to the wall and the ceiling some way so that the ceiling and wall support it. So the foam core doesn't actually really need a support to hold it flat. So now there are a couple ways I could have done this with cheap reflector lamps. I could have taken two and put one in front of me on either side at 45-degree angles, or I could have taken one and put it directly in front of me until I got the light right. But I would need to also move those lamps probably farther back to adjust them to get the light just right. So by bouncing it, I get a diffused light, and I've kind of adjusted the level of light. Now you'll have to experiment with how bright a compact fluorescent light you need for your lighting. This one is equivalent to a 100-watt incandescent. So that means it's probably about 25 watts compact fluorescent, because a compact fluorescent puts out about 4 times the light an incandescent light does. And so they kind of measure it by that, because people are used to incandescent lights, so they know what a 100-watt looks like, so they'll say it's equivalent. And that's where you get that rating from. Alright, so this is a pretty good lighting setup here for this room, and it's with like a $10 clamp light. And I'll show you the clamp light as soon as I turn my other lights on so that I can film it, because I'm actually using it right now. Okay, I'm back to my standard setup that I started with at the beginning of this video, with 2 soft boxes, a webcam, and a snowball external microphone. So the way I lit the last scene was I used one of these reflector lamps. And this is a 10.5-inch one, and it has a clamp on the bottom here so you can clamp it to things. And I have a 100-watt daylight compact fluorescent bulb in it. It's actually 27 watts, but it's equivalent to a 100-watt incandescent. they generally tell you with a compact fluorescent bulb what it's equivalent to as far as brightness with an incandescent, because fluorescent bulbs are 4 times as bright as an incandescent for the same amount of wattage. So the actual wattage of this bulb is only 25 watts, but it puts out what would take 100 watts with an incandescent. So anyway, what I did was I reflected this up against the ceiling and the wall in front of me, which are white, and I just clamped it to this little tripod here. I have this tiny tripod. You can use whatever you want as a stand to clamp it to, as long as it's stable and will hold it up. And you might be able to clamp it to an edge of a table somehow, or anything that will kind of weight it down and make sure that it doesn't fall over. So you can use your creativity for that. So that was a very simple way to improve the lighting in your YouTube videos. I'll do more videos on lighting and other aspects of improving your YouTube videos. For example, we'll talk about external mics. One thing you can do to improve the sound is get an external mic. The blue Snowball mic is one of the more popular ones, and it's a USB mic, which means you can plug it into a USB socket, and it sets up real easily. There are other ways to use standard mics that don't have USB connectors on the end of them, but we'll talk about that in another video. I'm Mungo Darkmatter, and this has been Dark Matters, and whatever you do, enjoy technology.